Hey YouTube, it's your girl Chic from Chic Say What. I am coming on tonight live. It's been a little while, but I'm back and I got some things I want to talk about. It's been a lot going on in the YouTube streets, in the streets of the US of A, in the streets of the world, the nation. So it's a lot to talk about, but tonight I decided to talk about the state of New York. Some may call the great state of New York, New York City. I know many people who follow me do reside in New York City or are from New York City. I have visited the Big Apple before many years ago, but it's a lot going on there. So I want to talk about it today, November 1st, 2021. Today is the start of many changes there. And one of those changes being the employment of service workers, many service workers, firefighters in particular. It's a lot in the media that we really cannot ignore. Many may have tried to ignore it over the last couple of months, weeks, but that the time is here and we really can't ignore what's going on there. And if whatever's going on there could potentially spread into other parts of the nation. I know California has some things going on there where they have some dates and things like that where, in particular, I'm thinking probably of like your Los Angeles. I know they had some requirements, some stiff requirements going on there. That's actually where I'm from. So I still have family, friends who still reside in California, more so in the Bay Area. However, much of the mandates that I heard spoken on, they were for like the Los Angeles area. But there had been some, mandates that did kind of cross over into like, the Bay Area. I know I had heard at one point some changes going on, I think with San Francisco and with some of their service workers and them kind of going through what New York City firefighters may be going through right now. So it's a lot. It's sad at the same time. I can say I would have never thought that during my lifetime I would live in a time where something from a medical standpoint would kind of be pushed as like a requirement or else type situation, versus it being much of like many of our other things pertaining to like vaccines where it can kind of be optional. Pretty much that really up until now, there really wasn't anything that adults had been required to take. I guess the things that we do have on books that had been kind of a requirement for school was things that you get as a young child, when you have your baby has its first month shots, 6 month, that whole schedule that many of us parents, had to keep up with the vaccinations for our babies. We would keep that up because that was the only way they were able to get into daycare and the regular schools. So most of us kind of have experienced that at least a time or two, depending on, how many children you have. So it's like, okay, to me, it's almost like that time period on steroids as it pertains to what they're wanting, for everyone to have, all the way up into adults. I believe this was it last week or fairly recently. Now it's been approved for the little ones to receive the jab. I guess was at the ages of 2 to 11, or is that 5 to 11? I think it's 5 to 11. That was the last group of people to, um, I guess, be approved to have the quote unquote FDA approval stamped on it to give to the people. So, to each its own. The parts that doesn't sit well with me is just when you get into just mandating people to do what up until really now had been like more of like an optional type thing, kind of like the flu shot, that's always been optional. It's never been something where, okay, if you learned someone did not have the flu shot, where you kind of looked at them sideways, like, oh, snap, you ain't got the flu shot. It wasn't, the flu shot hadn't been nothing like that. It was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I got my flu shot, or no, I don't really take that. I'm good. Like, and that was the end of it. It really didn't warrant like deep thought provoking conversation, when it came to, with the flu shot. Now we don't even hear about a flu. Like, is that even a thing still? When the last time you heard somebody say they had the flu or they think they got the flu? When have you heard like even a commercial advertisement on flu products? Like, it's almost as though the 19 has replaced the flu. And it just makes you say, but I mean, that's how I feel. It's like the flu is like something that, oh, that's what people used to catch up until like 2019. And then after that, it's kind of like it got replaced with something else. This season, I have, over the summer was hearing talks about, okay, getting the, encouraging people to get the flu shot. But I don't know if you guys have, but I've heard a couple of cases where there's been people who say they went to a local store, like your CVS or Walgreens, wherever you live. That's what we have here in Georgia, but where they'd gone there, and them and even in some cases, children, very young children, children like under 5, where they accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally got the jab. They were supposed to have been getting a flu shot, which, many kids have gotten for years, but they ended up getting the jab. And how they learned that's what they got is, after you get your shot, they give you the information, I guess the card, and the directive was, okay, see you in 2 weeks. This is your date. And it's like, wait, hold up. What do you mean see you in 2 weeks? Because, your flu shot, that's like a one and done type situation. So the cases where I heard where people said they kind of had gotten it by mistake, that was kind of how they found out they got it by mistake, by, the instructions of coming back in like 2 weeks. And then in that moment, the tech, who, I don't know what their title is, so I'm just calling them medical tech, because these aren't doctors on these sites, administering and stuff. These are just medical workers. So I don't know what kind of credentials you need to have to administer a flu shot. But the response has pretty much been, oh, my bad, mistake, made a mistake. Yeah, we gave you the jab. Sorry. Like, that's kind of been the energy, and kind of from there, people had to move on with their lives. So yes, mistakes can happen, but how many times has that mistake happened? Because I've heard of it at least twice. So, but these are some really different times that we're living in, and I want to come on here tonight to talk about those times, because I felt like what's going on now takes precedence over just the foolery that I could easily talk about that's going on in the YouTube streets with entertainers or other fellow YouTubers, because there is a lot going on there that I may touch on later. But I want to talk about this great state of New York and what's going on there. And so, you know how I do. I want to share my screen, and I'm going to show, I want to show an article that I came across speaking on, the mayor and Mayor de Blasio and, what he's wanting out of the great people of New York. So let's get into it. Let me see, you can see my screen. So let's get into it, guys. So it's this. So this is, let me see, what page are we on? We are on NYC.gov. So it says Mayor de Blasio announces vaccine mandate for New York City workers. So this article was dated October 20th. Today is November 1st. October 20th, 2021. Today is November 1st. And it reads, city employees to receive $500 incentive for first dose through next week. All city workers, excluding uniformed correction officers, required to have at least one dose by 5 p.m. on October 29th. Guys, we are here. That day has come and gone. New York, Mayor de Blasio today announced a C-19 vaccination mandate for all city workers. Starting today, city employees will receive an extra $500 in their paycheck for receiving their first jab. And I'm just interchanging words because y'all know what's going on. And, with the algorithm and some terms and things, it's kind of resulting in some funny business happening with videos. So I just want to be careful with the terminology I use, the frequency and things like that, because we don't need no problems. We're still just a smaller channel that's growing. I do thank you all. Welcome. But I have to share this information with you because this is what I do. I get the information out to the people. So it says this benefit will end at 5 p.m. on Friday, October 29th, by which city employees are required to have proof of at least one dose. Unvaxxed employees will be placed on unpaid leave until they show proof of vac to their supervisor. Health Commissioner Dr. Dave Chokshi will sign a commissioner's order today to formalize the mandate, which will immediately apply to approximately 160,500 city workers. That's a lot, y'all. 71% of the workers affected by this mandate have already received at least one vac dose. Department of Education, DOE, and New York City Health and Hospital workers have been subject to vac mandates since late September. Today, vac rates at the DOE and the H&H, which is the health and hospitals, are 96% and 95% respectively. So most people have gone ahead and, gotten it. We just got some out there that are still kind of holding the front line like, no, sir, no, ma'am. So the new mandates is effective on November 1, today, to the entire municipal workforce, including all NYPD, FDNY, and DSNY employees. Y'all, civilian employees of the Department of Correction, DOC, and uniform members assigned to the healthcare settings are also immediately subject to the mandate. Other uniform members at DOC will be subject to mandate effective December 1st as the city works diligently to address the ongoing staffing situation at Rikers Island. Listen, what we don't need is a staffing situation at Rikers Island. The fact that Rikers Island is there to begin with Lord knows what kind of people up in there, and to think that there may potentially be a shortage in head count for people to manage that place, as my teenage niece would say, we cannot be talking about no shortage at Rikers Island. Listen, y'all. We cannot. Not Rikers Island. I'm sorry. We ain't talking about Kroger's. We are not talking about Wendy's. We ain't talking about Taco Bell. We talking about Rikers Island. I do not want to be rolling by Rikers Island talking about now hiring like we seeing with all these other places that we go. Y'all, in Georgia, I cannot go y'all, I'm at a point like I'm so sick of I was so sick of seeing these signs talking about now hiring. Really? Like, I mean, I just left. I traveled this past weekend to the lovely state of Tennessee. Actually went to Nashville, got a niece at TSU there. Me and the fam drove up to go, do a pop-up on her. It was a really lovely trip, lovely city. Never been in Nashville. When I say it was like really super clean, everyone was friendly. It reminded me kind of like a like a clean Atlanta, less populated, but I really enjoyed it. I definitely got to go back. Me and my husband just gonna have to kind of make a little separate trip to go up there. But what I didn't notice a lot of when I was there, I didn't notice I noticed like here in Georgia, a lot of the for hiring or now hiring signs like I do here. So my brother said, I don't know if it's my husband or one of my nieces, my little niece said she may be seeing a sign, but I didn't notice it like I noticed here where I'm at in Georgia, where everywhere you go, it's like now hiring. Like it's just crazy. So I'm just not here for Rikers Island having a little now hiring sign. Like, yo, I went into my local post office before we left to go out of town, and they had a now hiring sign. Listen, who have gone into the post office and seen them hiring? Like, I always grew up like hearing, oh, post office was the job you want to get onto. It's so hard. They got excellent benefits. It was just that place where you want to try to get on with, but you just couldn't. Even at one point, even with people, I heard people talk about getting on like with the correctional office, like the prisons, and it being kind of like a tough thing to even get on with. So fast forward today, I think that was maybe like on Friday when I had to go in and mail out something. I saw that, they were hiring pretty much for all positions. And I was like, wow. And then someone reminded me like, well, yeah, that's a federal, I don't know if that's a federal job. And with the whole jab mandates, you got a lot of people who have walked away from their jobs. So it makes sense that, okay, now they're hiring. I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, that does make sense. But I was just stuck on the part to where I'd never just seen like an advertisement like that for jobs with the Postal Service. So it just really kind of stopped me like, wow, this is like serious. So this article goes on to say there is no greater privilege than serving the people of New York City. And that privilege comes with the responsibility to keep yourself and your community safe, said Mayor Bill de Blasio. He also quoted of saying, we have led the way against C-19, from fighting for the right to vaccine frontline workers to providing nation-leading incentives to creating the key to NYC's mandate. As we continue our recovery, for all of us, city workers have been a daily inspiration. Now is the time for them to show their city the path out of this pandemic once and for all. End quote. New quote, vaccinations are critical to combating the C-19 pandemic. This mandate is a bold step that protects our families, friends, and communities, including those that are not yet eligible for the vaccine, such as our city's youngest residents. It builds on our continued leadership and innovative strategies to fighting this pandemic and bring us a step closer to a recovery for all. Thank you to the dedicated city workers for your continued service throughout this pandemic, said Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Melanie Hartzog. The city will begin impacting bargaining with affected unions immediately. Y'all, so that's kind of what was put out there on the 20th of October. Like, hey, the deadline's approaching. These are the incentives we got going on. If you go ahead and do what you need to do, but come to first, like, yo, this is no longer on the table and you just better be ready. So, fast forward to today, y'all, we got a lot of people who called out. Many of us, we know what it is to call out of work, but how many of us have been in a situation where we were like one of thousands for the same company that has called out of work? Like, that's the part that's not, what most people have experienced. And with such a large number, that's something that has to be felt by a company and organization when you have that many people to call out at one time. So let me share. I'm gonna share my screen for a second article pertaining to the New York City firefighters. They're like, listen, we hear what you're saying, but at the same time, we don't hear what you're saying. And what you talking about ain't serious enough for me to comply with in order to go to work, to keep this job. So let's get into this article right here. You guys, let me know if you do have any comments. You can drop it below, you know, once the during a replay or even in the live chat. I love to interact with people, but I'd love to hear what you have to say, because to me, it's so many layers to it. And people have opinions that are kind of all over. So I'm one, you know, I like to kind of hear what the people got to say. So this article, this is the CBS News or MSN.com. So this is CBS News. It reads, thousands of New York NYC firefighters out sick as vaccine mandates start. So this was posted like 3 hours ago, fam. So it's saying roughly 2,300 members of the New York City Fire Department claimed they were sick and didn't show up to work on Monday as the city's C-19 vaccine mandate for municipal workers went into effect. Wow. What is that? They got the mask on a dinosaur on. Okay. Well, I guess it is Halloween. So let me go on and scroll on past that. So it says, make sure my volume don't come up on these videos, y'all. We might play that. I'll say, so it says all city workers were required to have received at least one dose of the vaccine by October 29th. City leaders suspect many of those who didn't roll up their sleeves foreign illness to avoid being disciplined for failing to comply with the health requirement. New York City Mayor de Blasio said last month that workers who didn't get at least their first shot by the deadline would be placed on unpaid leave. So let's see, y'all. We can probably play this. Let me turn this and we'll listen to this.
A last-ditch effort for some of the city's finest and bravest. Chopper 2 flying above as they rallied in front of the mayor's home, Gracie Mansion, to let their voices be heard.
This is really an absolutely unnecessary threat to the lives of New Yorkers. There is no crisis. Right now, 8% of New York City firefighters are out with fire-related injuries, and 1/16 of that number is out with COVID.
The city says it's ready to show the door to 3,500 FDNY members if they don't get this shot. A high-ranking FDNY source tells CBS 2 as many as 20% of fire companies could close and their ambulance fleet could be impacted as well. If the mayor doesn't budge on his mandate, ralliers say it could mean lives will be lost.
No other way to do this. We currently have a staffing shortage as it is.
But the mayor defending the mandate today, saying the FDNY commissioner has a contingency plan.
Mandatory overtime, scheduling changes. There's other options they can turn to address the situation. We will be ready. If folks show up who are not vaccinated, their supervisors will address that.
The president of the Uniformed Firefighters Association argues 70% of members have already been infected and have natural immunity, so they don't need to be vaccinated. But the mayor and the city's doctors saying that's not good enough.
The strength and the duration of that immunity remains unknown.
As the window to vaccinate closes, there's growing concern about gaps in services in other city departments. A state Supreme Court judge denied the Police Benevolent Association lawsuit to halt the mandate and is upholding that officers must have their shots. The union president saying the ruling sets the city up for a real crisis, saying New Yorkers should blame the mayor and police commissioner Dermot Shea.
We are coming to you tonight from Leesburg, Virginia.
Yeah, it's going down in New York. These firefighters like, listen, I ain't going to work. I ain't coming to work today. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I will not be in today. I will be using 8 hours of PTO or sick time. And that's that. So we will see. And a lot of these people, they probably got a lot of hours, you know how it is, you on your job and you've gotten a lot of hours that you've accumulated. So you know that you know, it's like, I got time today because, type energy where you use them hours that you got that they can't, if you got the time, you got the time. And many of these people who probably have, hardly ever called out, a lot of us are either that person or know somebody who just never calls out. And this is that time where those hours are, a benefit to them because they can call out of work and still be paid. So this article goes on to say the FDNY Commissioner Daniel Negro said on Monday that firefighters had plenty of time to get back, and he implored those who have yet to get jabbed to get their shot so they can return to work. Normally, on any given day, fewer than 1,000 department members would be out sick, he said. The FDNY employs about 11,000 uniformed workers. So clearly, in normal climates, these are hardworking people. They go to work like many of us do. They go to work. But today they were like, I can't do it. I'm still marinating on this whole situation. I'm still looking into seeing what my options are. And in the meantime, I use these hours that I got, these sick time hours, and make it do what it do for me, because that's what they're there for. So also, de Blasio said that he believes that many of the 2,300 firefighters who called in sick were pretending to be ill and violating oaths they took to serve the public. You think? But a lot of people are on the side. What about you? The violation of one's, health rights, personal choice, HIPAA, all of that, to say, listen, I don't want to go that route. This is not what I do. This is against my belief. Like many reasons, as we've seen in the footage. Many said, well, I think they said it was like 70% of them that said they already had the C, or the 19. So why I'm having to worry about getting the jab when the C didn't already hit me hard and I bounced back. I'm here. So that part. So there's a quote that also goes on to say, this is something we don't tolerate. We have every reason to believe we have a lot of people out here claiming they are sick when they are not. De Blasio said in a press conference on Monday, noting there could be real consequences for employees who are determined to have lied about their health status. This is something we don't tolerate. So how are you going to know if somebody, like, you can't listen, like I said, as I said, you got the time out, the time on the books. That's pretty much that mutes that conversation. If the hours are there, the sick time hours are there, and I'm calling in today to say, listen, I'm not feeling well. I'm gonna use these I'm gonna use these sick hours today. That's in that same category of somebody saying, yeah, I don't be doing these jabs and all this stuff because it's against my religious beliefs. How do you even prove something like that? It kind of just falls into a category of like, if sis or bruh said like, this is what it is, and you just kind of take it for what it's worth, period. So looks like it also goes on to say, he says it is imperative that everyone come to work and do their job. The taxpayers of this city rely on all of our public services, particularly our first responders, the mayor added. So Commissioner Negro agreed that the surge of FDNY members on medical leave is tied to the city's vac mandate taking effect. To date, 3/4 of the city's firefighters are vaxxed, well below the 91% rate for the city, 300,000 municipal workers as a whole. Since the mandate was issued, our medical leave spiked up, and we know that, Negro said, and noting that roughly 700 people a day visited the department's medical office last week. The majority of them are unbacked. This is completely unacceptable, he said. The widespread absences are not affecting the FDNY's response times because firefighters who are reporting for duty are picking up extra shifts, Nigro said. Thanks to those stepping up to fill spots, our department is functioning quite well. So for those who have made the decision to comply, to get the jab, to go to work, to pick up the extra hours, that's the decision that they made. But then you have those who have chosen to not do any of the above. That's the decision they've made. So here we are at the crossroads. What do you do? And this is just one state we're talking about. This is one state, and for people to think that the wave, it won't make it and become a thing in the other states within the country, like that's the reality is, the looks of it. New York and California, that those may just be those states where, hey, let's see how it goes here. And then based on how that works out, then we'll kind of talk about, rolling it out to other states, other parts of the country. And it's here. Like we can't ignore it just because it's not an issue where you are your state. We can't be blind to the fact that all of this is happening. And we can't fool ourselves to think that it can't one day become a reality for us in our homes, in our home states. Because I want to say, I know California, I know in Los Angeles, they're requiring it for the children to go to school. So I want to say by second semester, come January, all of the little kids, like based on the ages that it is like approved for, like in order to go to school, like you're going to have to be on record of having the jab, or your children's going to have to be on record of having the jab. I think they need there's some dates thrown out there, but I think by January they would, need both of them. And that's that, and that's how California is going to roll. And that was in like LA area. So that wasn't like, so I think this probably within the city limits of Los Angeles. So that's what they're doing. Like I said, things got to pop off somewhere, before it transitions into like another part of the state or other parts of the country. What we're talking about, it seems like with New York, this is looks like the state of New York. I'm not really interpreting anything being just for a specific, cities or locations within New York. But if you guys know differently, please let me know in the comments, the information you have. If you do live there, how have you been impacted? Or if you have loved ones who have been impacted by any of this. But the time is here. The time is here where people are pretty much forced to kind of take a stance on whichever way they're going to go. And then with that stance, people are going to have to accept whatever the consequences that are going to come along with the direction we have chosen to go. As I say, it's just unfortunate that people feel like they can't make their decision just strictly based on just what they want to do, their comfort, not something being held over their head. Because it's almost like, if something's held over your head, like, your roof over your head or your job, your livelihood, it's almost like your arm was twisted to do it. So do you still kind of put that in the category of, oh yeah, I willingly did it? To me, it's different when there's a threat hanging over you. such as your livelihood. That just changes the game. Even though, even when it comes down to that, we have the decision, we can make the decision to comply or just walk away and just pray, that everything will still work out for you, as far as with you still having some place to live, being able to make money. It's just a lot, and people just have really been put into tough situations, and New York is definitely one. And right now I'm praying for the best for those who live in that state, for everyone, those who have taken the jab, as well as those who are still holding the front line, that are saying, no, I cannot, I will not. And this is my reason, So I respect everyone's decision, and I will continue to kind of watch this. And I may come back on here, and talk about other parts of the country who are experiencing, changes, and, such as this, these stiff requirements, and being placed in, positions where they're feeling forced to have to kind of do something that they wouldn't do if they didn't have to worry about supporting themselves or their families. So these are definitely tough times, but please, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I do go live, because it's pretty much impromptu. I don't really have a schedule. So the way my life is set up, I kind of jump on when I can. But yeah, I just want to get on here and just talk about this, what's going on out here in these streets pertaining to the jab and our service workers. So again, thank you, anyone who caught this live, for joining, and those who catch the playback, welcome to my new subscribers. My channel is growing. I do thank you all. And until the next broadcast, peace.